Today on Faith Matters, we have another edition of Someone You Should Know. Chris Tornquist is going to interview Lynn Yount. I'm Dan Jarms, and you're listening to Faith Matters, a podcast to help update you on matters of Faith Bible Church, as well as equip you in matters of the Christian faith.
Today, what a pleasure to have Lynn Yount with us.
Hi, Chris.
Welcome. I tell you, you're one that people may recognize your name as they see it, and they've seen it, but they may not know you. So that's going to be a fun thing that they say, oh, that's more about her. I've seen her name around, so I'm really looking forward to going through that.
Yes, I've had a few people say, oh, you're the one.
Yeah. It happens, and I'm sure that's in a good way. Oh, you're the one.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think it probably is on that one. Well, let's get started out. Just find out a little bit about you, where you're born, raised, schooling. Give me some general background.
I was born in Central California, grew up in the Fresno area. Mm-hmm. I am the youngest of three. I was the youngest in my whole family for quite a few years. So I'm just the baby.
Well, there are advantages and disadvantages of that.
Yes.
I'm the youngest in my family of my siblings, and so there is some distinct advantages with that.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I have two older brothers, and so they were ready to have a sister by the time I came along. So I have a pretty charmed childhood.
Oh, isn't that delightful? School, high school, anything past that?
Yeah, I was homeschooled through 8th grade. Mm-hmm. Went to a Christian high school and then a Christian college. I went to Fresno Christian High School, and then I went to LeTourneau University in Eastern Texas for my undergrad. And so grad school was the first public school I attended. And I think some might call that sheltered. I might agree, but I'd probably call it more protected childhood in just a Christian home with believing parents, believing grandparents who wanted to give me the best opportunities I could, and I'm extremely grateful for that.
Oh, of course. So went on to grad school.
Yes.
And where did you go for that?
Tarleton State University, Central Texas. Mm-hmm. You are the first person I think I've ever met outside of that area who said, aha.
And I know of LeTourneau quite well.
Oh, good.
That one. Yeah. So that would have been a great experience. What was your degree at LeTourneau?
I went as a pre-law history political science major, ended up adding an English major. So I graduated with the double major in both those liberal arts.
Oh, they're fun. And then with a master's degree in what?
English, rhetoric. It was mostly focused on creating composition teachers to get that degree. So I did some student teaching as a graduate student.
And so thus, bringing over those skills and abilities that the Lord gave you to do things here at Faith Bible Church.
Well, one of the things I found out in doing that was that I didn't feel like I was a teacher. So it may not have turned out like it did for most people, but I did have some experiences that helped me become who I am and learn what my faith has to do with it.
Wonderful. That's a great experience in learning. That's when that happens, when it clicks. That's just incredible.
I mean, it would be more helpful if it was like, here's what I do want to do, but finding out here's what I don't want to do helps too.
Oh, yes. And some of us go through several of those jobs until we figure out, I thought I wanted to do that. Never mind. Yeah, I know that feeling on that one. So what brought you to Spokane? How did you get here?
I had some family that had lived here, and I had visited a few times during the summer. I'll specify it was during the summer that I had visited. And so when I finished college, I had an option, I could go kind of wherever. That was the time of my life when I could do that. And so I said, I'm going to go live near my relatives. I actually lived with my aunt and uncle here for a couple of years, and it was great. That was 17 years ago.
So you emphasize that was summer. So I'm assuming when you experienced your first one or two hard winters, you thought,
Oh, I still don't love driving in the snow. Finally got my first Subaru about a year ago, and that was a good investment.
Woohoo. Wow. Great stuff on that one. As you think about childhood, growing up, high school, what things really stand out as good memories to you that you really enjoyed?
I loved music with my family. I played the piano and sang and choir in high school and college. But the sweetest memories are definitely those kind of around the piano at home, singing hymns kind of things with my grandparents, with my aunts and uncles and cousins. And I miss that because I don't really have that exact feeling now, but it's a strong one.
Wow. Now, does Pastor John Gardner know that you're a musician?
He knows I'm a bad musician.
Somehow I can't believe that. You know, there's just something here as I sit here and look at you and chat with you that I just don't think that's probably true. But.
I've mentioned, but he called for ladies to join the choir, and I still haven't taken that big step out yet. But
well, now we know how everybody to pray for you that you'll do that and be part of the choir next time on that one. What have you done to put food on the table? You talked about things you didn't really. I don't think I want to do that. How about things you've done that you've turned out? Yeah, this was good.
When I moved to Spokane, I was just applying for jobs all around, and I ended up with a part-time fact-checking gig at the Spokesman Review, and that within 2 weeks of being hired for that little part-time job, I was hired into a full-time job that had just come open there. Mm-hmm. God's leading was very clear in a lot of my career transitions that I've had. I worked at the Spokesman Review for 10 years, and so I learned a lot of things about journalism because that hadn't been my particular focus of writing or study, and so I learned a lot there. When it came time to leave there, I worked at the Union Gospel Mission for a few years, and that taught me a lot about, writing about people's stories and just I've been a learning on the job kind of employee in all of my work.
And so bringing all of that over here to Faith Bible Church, tell us about what you're involved with now.
Well, on staff here, I'm working part-time to help tell stories. I work with Seth Weber in the communications department, and so a lot of the articles we've previously had in Faith Weekly and now are going to be having in the Living Faith magazine, I'm involved in both planning out those stories and writing some of them and interviewing people, and I've learned so much just from being in that position.
Oh, yes.
We have a big church, and it's just filled with really interesting, cool people, and I'm not great at just putting myself out there to meet the new ones, but once I get the chance, I love learning about people and telling their stories when they'll let me.
So you're involved in other things besides this, I know, as far as the editing and the writing and getting to know, because you've been involved in an adventure the past several months with someone I happen to know.
Yeah, I've been part of Marty's inaugural Aspiring Women class this year, and that has been just a wonderful experience, both getting to know her and being kind of pushed to learn and try some things in order to share just the wealth. To whom much is given, much is expected, and the Lord has given me a lot of opportunities to learn and study His Word. This has been an opportunity to try to learn how to share that with others more effectively.
And so you have opportunity to write Bible studies and to teach Bible studies, and so a stretch,
yes,
is it not?
Having kind of learned that I wasn't a teacher, it was a little scary when I was recruited into this opportunity, but this is a whole different thing. It's the Word of God. It's people who hunger to know the Word of God. Who wouldn't want to be part of sharing that?
Wow, that's great. Now, there's a little trivia thing that a few of us know a little about, but most people don't know anything about, that they'll go, really? And you know exactly where I'm going with this. Tell me a little bit about your 15 minutes of fame a few years ago.
Hey, it was a half hour, Chris.
Oh, excuse me, 30 minutes of fame. There you go.
It turned out being maybe even an hour. I had a chance to, I just filled out the online test to audition for the game show Jeopardy in, I don't want to name years here.
No,
but
we don't have to name years.
A few years ago.
We'll just say it wasn't last year.
And so I appeared on the show a couple times, and it was at a time of my life when my dad was real sick with cancer. He was going through treatments, and having that come along and just be just the ultimate lark, and that he was able to come see the taping was just one of the sweetest memories of God's just unmerited grace to me and my family. It was not something I would have expected to happen. It's a great memory. And of course, people tease me about it and think, "Oh, you're so famous." And it was something different than that for me to be able to do that. Well, you're certainly
very smart, because you have to be on top of some of those subjects to be able to push that buzzer.
Yeah, but it's called trivia for a reason. Mm. It's not that important.
But you could tell stories, I'm sure, for a long time of how you prepared and what it was like, and meeting the people and how they really did it as opposed to what you see on TV. Yeah, I'm sure it was just quite the experience for you.
It was fun. It was really fun. It is actually pretty similar to what you do see on TV. Mm. You don't have a lot of guidance in preparing, and I got to maybe shake hands with Alex for about 30 seconds, and most of the time I was being, touched up by makeup people or whatever when he, so I didn't have a lot of extra time to talk with him, but they made it a fun experience. They know how to kind of, or at least this many years ago, they really knew how to make it a fun time for people who are really nervous to be there. Mm-hmm. And I guess spoiler, but I won the first one on a really squeaky mm-hmm. close race. And that was another just huge blessing from God.
Wow. Well, that's incredible. Well, I thought maybe they'd bring you back for the Tournament of Champions or something.
Man, I'm not one of those super champs.
Well, what a time. What a time. You've been here at Faith Bible Church how many years?
A little over 10 years now.
Wow.
Almost 11, actually.
You've seen a lot of things, a lot of changes, people in and out, growth, just some wonderful things.
Yeah, I had never really been committed enough in a church to become a member until I came to Faith Bible Church. I'd always gone to church my whole life, but being in college, I had gone to several different churches and never really got settled down. Anyway, so coming to Faith, where membership is really significant, made it a really special place to be, where you can really connect with people because you have that. This is going to sound really weird.
No, it won't at all, guaranteed.
There's a covenant of membership here where we have that relationship with each other, and people aren't going to let you just kind of drift away, even if you want to. Mm-hmm. And that's really special. And so I've had just really wonderful connections here that I'd never really had in a church family before.
Is that a fair thing to say? That's what you really appreciate then? One of the things you really appreciate about this place? Yes,
and just the high value for God's word and the appreciation for its richness and that it's sufficient for life.
About what age or what time in your life did you come to have a personal relationship with Christ where you knew that this was really it?
Yeah, that's a tough one for someone who grew up in a situation like mine. And I always loved being in church and being around and learning the Bible. So it's hard to put my finger on it.
Sure.
But I would say you have a couple of these situations in childhood where you're presented, I remember going to camp and being presented with you choose this or this and making that choice. But when you're 11, how much of that choice do you know about? So it was really in high school where I realized that this makes a big difference in my life. It means my life is for a different purpose than other people's lives would be. And that had to be kind of challenged and played out in a lot of different ways as I continued to become an adult. And I've made some really bad mistakes in my life. But God is so gracious that I can always turn.
Of
and
course.
He's right there behind. Like, He's right there. And that's a really special thing to me.
And knowing LeTourneau College, I am sure those were some incredible growth times when you were at the college there.
Oh, that's the best. Those are the best 4 years of my life.
Oh,
Maybe not.
yeah.
But really sweet memories of being with other young people who really loved the Lord. And I was a Bible minor, so that was a big,
very good,
big kind of foundational piece of knowing the Word and loving the Bible.
If you had to say, what are you learning the most right now? Talking the last year or two, what do you think the Lord is teaching you?
The Lord has really shown me a lot more of the pride that is in my heart over just the beautiful gifts that He's given me and how I approach those gifts. I want to be a humble conduit of those things. It is not my credit if I have particular abilities or experiences they're going to do. They're not, those abilities and experiences aren't going to be what actually make me able to do anything for Him. It is the surrendering of those abilities to Him and the trust in Him, even when it doesn't look to me like those are working out very well.
Wow.
That's been big. Even in aspiring women, like, yes, I could probably do the assignments. I've always been pretty good at school. But what difference is it actually going to make unless I am surrendering to the power of the Spirit to actually work in people's hearts, work in my heart, and cause that His Word to be powerfully shared in those situations.
And you're married.
Yes, my husband, Doug, yes.
And how many years?
Doug and I were married 10 and 2/3 years ago.
Wow. Boy, that's even more specific than I thought on that one. That's great.
We came to Faith Bible Church as we were looking for a church to be attending together. Wow. So it's a big kind of it's the same season as being part of Faith Bible Church as being a married couple that work together.
That just adds to what you're learning on that one. And I sort of knew that it was kind of at the same time. That's why I kind of waited till now, because that's been
I'm
part
sorry,
of your...
I didn't mention him yet.
No, that's okay. That's part of your spiritual growth. It's been part of your experience,
Marriage
hasn't it?
is going to be part of anybody's spiritual growth. But it's a huge blessing. The Lord, even the story of us getting married, we'd known each other for 15 years before we got married, and the Lord just kind of made that timing and that connection the right time for His future purposes. I don't know what we have in store for us to be doing together, but we get to be growth group leaders together.
That's wonderful.
That's been a wonderful thing. That's a big part of how Faith Bible Church works, is to have those smaller groups, and we just love being with those people.
If we can pray for you, the family of faith, or if we can pray for you with an area, tell us what it would be.
I want to delight in the Lord and have the joy of my salvation, because I can boil it down to obedience sometimes without the joy. And clearly, the psalmist is like, I'm going to pray for those things. I'm going to pray for the joy of my salvation. And so I just forget so often when things are hard that I still have the joy of the Lord. Wow. And I need to pray for that. And so anyone who's willing to pray for me for that,
yes,
bring it on.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Lynn, for taking the time to be with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. I think we could go on and on, but Seth won't let us.
We probably could on that one too. So Lynn Yount's one of those people at Faith Bible Church that you need to know.
Thanks for joining us on these podcasts this fall. We're going to take a little bit of a break for the Christmas season, and we'll pick back up at the new year.